everyone, I'm back today with my comparison of Adobe Connect with GoToWebinar. It's difficult to compare apples to apples when examining the differences between Adobe Connect and GoToWebinar because the feature sets are not the same. The price of GoToWebinar starts at about twice that of GoToMeeting, or a normal Connect meeting room, but as you add features the price of each goes up. So you'll need to do a little investigation to find out how the pricing compares based on the features you need. First, we'll compare GoToWebinar to a normal Connect meeting room. Unlike GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar lets you have polls. When I click on Manage Polls, I'm taken out of the meeting environment to a web interface for managing my polls. I'll add some poll questions. Create new poll. What color is your car? White, black, red, green, and blue. And I'm out of options. Oh well, I'll go ahead and save this as a multiple choice one answer question. I'll add another question. Create new poll. Let's make this a multiple choice multiple answer question. What color is your house? White, yellow, green, brown, pink. Out of options again. So apparently I can only add 5 options per poll question. I'll go ahead and save it. Now let's go back to our webinar room. In the Select Poll drop-down menu, we can select our first poll question. I'll need to click Launch to make the poll available. Notice the audience view thumbnail? Let's take a closer look at what the audience really experiences. Here's the participants view of the webinar. So the poll actually takes over the screen. It's the only thing being shared. The participant can make a selection and submit her answer. Back in the organizer's view of the webinar, I can see that someone has answered the poll question. Note that there's no option for me to show more than one poll question at a time. I have to close this poll first, and then I can launch my other poll question. Also, only after I've closed the poll can I share the results with the audience. This is what the participant sees when I share the results. Let's compare that with Adobe Connect polls. In Connect, I can open as many polls as I like at the same time, and I create my poll questions right here in the meeting room. I can have a lot more than 5 options for answers. I can share the results with the audience even before the poll is closed. I can even view how each person has voted. Also, if I use this meeting room again for a similar meeting, I don't have to recreate the poll questions from scratch. I just reset them and I'm ready to use the same poll pods again. In addition to the single answer poll and the multiple answer poll, Connect also has a short answer poll question that allows participants to type in their answer. One more thing, when I close a poll in Connect, my poll data is sent to the Connect server where it's captured in a database and available in my meeting reports, so I never lose my polling data. So what else does GoToWebinar do? Well, I noticed that GoToWebinar adds the Q&A capability that GoToMeeting lacks in the form of the questions panel. So that's good. Now, if you're only interested in these added meeting room capabilities, you'll have to pay the premium price to get GoToWebinar compared with Adobe Connect, where they're all included in the standard meeting room. However, if you're truly interested in conducting webinars and not just having a large meeting with all these added capabilities, it gets more interesting. A webinar usually includes the process of inviting people to attend your webinar and capturing their registration data for future follow-up. This is what GoToWebinar gives you that supposedly makes it worth its higher price. Adobe Connect gives you this functionality in the Events module, which can be added to your Connect meeting license, and of course, will add to the cost of your Connect account. First, we'll look at the features of GoToWebinar that would compare with Adobe Connect events. In GoToWebinar, I'll schedule the ABC webinar and click Schedule. On this page, I can edit much of the information about the webinar, the title, the date and time, and the audio settings. Next, we see branding. What kind of branding does GoToWebinar allow us to do? I'll click the Edit button, and we'll see that we can add a logo for our webinar, as well as a custom image. I'll do that so we can see how the finished product will look. We can also change the theme settings, which are simply the background color, the header font color, and the border color. And finally, we can add information about our presenter, and even add another presenter. Now, if I click My Webinars in the sidebar, I can see all of the info I set up, plus a few other things. Under Share Your Webinar, I can view the registration page. If I need to, I can add more questions to the registration page. Going back to the ABC webinar page, I see that there are 5 automated emails that will be sent. I'll take a look at the reminder email and see what that looks like. This is mostly canned information, but it looks like I can also add some custom text here. Scrolling to the bottom, I can see a preview link, and clicking that, I see what my email will ultimately look like. Not bad. Going back to the ABC webinar page one more time, I see I can configure my polls or a survey. I do like the survey option, and that's something that's not included as part of Connect, although there are ways to add a survey for your Connect events as well. Let's see how all of this compares with Adobe Connect Events. Connect Events gives you an event catalog where you can list all or some of your events for public consumption. You can even embed the catalog on your website. Rather than customizing each webinar separately, Adobe Connect gives you templates that can be applied to each event. Data that you have defined for the event then flows into the template to create beautiful, rich landing pages. You can also create a one-time custom template if you have a need for one event to have a special format. These templates can be edited using Adobe's CQ Web Content Management interface, which has been integrated with Connect for this purpose. It's all drag and drop. You don't have to know any HTML code or anything like that, so it's really easy to use. You also use the same template methodology for your email messages, and Connect gives you a lot more options for emails, including custom triggers. The result is that in Adobe Connect, you can create beautiful microsites consisting not only of a registration page, but also an event info page, a speaker info page, an event login page, and an event confirmation page that you designed to suit your needs. Going back to GoToWebinar, we have an option in the navigation sidebar to generate reports. Here we see a registration report, an attendee report, a performance report, a recording report, and a survey report. You can use a date range to filter down to the particular webinar that you want the report for. They're downloaded as an Excel document or as a CSV file. In Adobe Connect, you get real marketing reports, like a conversion funnel, registration data breakdown, a campaign report so you can see how each campaign is working for you. You also get engagement reports. Before I talk about the engagement reports, let's spend a little time talking about the engagement dashboard. Now, GoToWebinar has a dashboard that indicates attentiveness. The attentiveness meter is based on whether the GoToWebinar application is in the foreground or not. This method of measuring attendee attentiveness has always struck me as not being very accurate. For example, what if I have a text editor open on my computer and I'm taking notes during the webinar? GoToWebinar is not in the foreground, so it assumes I'm not paying attention, but I really am. Or what if I do have GoToWebinar in the foreground, but I'm turned away from my computer having a conversation with one of my coworkers? It looks to GoToWebinar like I'm paying attention, but in reality, I'm not. So this type of attentiveness measurement can be deceptive, giving us wrong data, which is worse than no data at all. Adobe Connect also includes an engagement dashboard, but the engagement dashboard in Connect is based on attendee participation in things like polls, file downloads, setting their status, chat, Q&A, and so forth. This is a much more accurate measurement of true attentiveness and engagement. Also, if associated with an event, the engagement data in Connect is captured and stored for review in the Connect Central Management interface, where we'll find reports like this one that shows us participant engagement level during our event. As we scroll down that page, we have data on participation in polls, file downloads, chat, Q&A, participant status, and a complete list of participants. And of course, you can also download all of this report data as well. To see more about Connect events, I encourage you to view our videos on that subject. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Intisolve, and watch the videos in the Adobe Connect events section. So there you go. Looking at the feature sets of both solutions, don't you think Adobe Connect is going to give you more bang for your buck? I sure do. Go ahead and contact me using the information on the screen, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to be advised of future videos.